Hello everyone, welcome to my endangered species project. The species I chose was the bonobo. So you may be wondering, what is a bonobo? You may not have heard of it before. Bonobos are members of the great apes. They are located in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, specifically south of the Congo River. They share 98.7% of their DNA with humans, just like chimpanzees do. And that's not the only similarity they have with chimpanzees. It is believed that they were once the same species. A study out of Kyoto University concluded that when water levels of the Congo River dropped, some members crossed the river, which is why chimpanzees found north of the river, which shared the land with gorillas, are a lot more aggressive and much larger because they had to compete for food with another great ape. Meanwhile, bonobos, south of the river, are a lot calmer and they are more relaxed and much smaller. It is estimated that there is around 15,000 to 40,000 bonobos left in the wild. They live in populations of around 100. However, when they are hunting, they separate into groups of 5 or 6. Females have their first child at around 13 to 15 years old, with a gestation period of 8 months, and an interbirth interval of 4 to 8 years. This means in between each birth, they have to give that much time. All this combined, it is very difficult for bonobos to raise their population, and it takes a long time for them to do so. However, one advantage that bonobos have in raising their population compared to other members of the primate family is that bonobos mate during all periods of the female's menstruation cycle. Meanwhile, other primates only do it when it is most likely for them to have a child. Some of the major pressures affecting the bonobo species include poaching and trafficking. This is the number one major pressure affecting bonobo populations. It is the number one reason because, like I said before, bonobos have their first child when they are 13 to 15 years. So if a bonobo is poached in the first 12 years of its life, it won't ever be able to have a child. Bonobos are primarily killed for the bushmeat trade, and bushmeat is a good source of protein. It can feed a family of 4 or 5 for up to 2 days. Meanwhile, a crop that is grown could only feed one person for around half a day. It is also used in traditional medicine, and when a baby is found after the mother is killed, they are kept and sold as pets. Great apes of all kinds are trafficked and sold internationally, and animal trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar industry. There are laws put into place by the country. However, these laws are not being enforced. This here is a photo of a bushmeat market in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. As you can see, many people do rely on bushmeat in order to survive, and it's very packed all times of the day. Another major pressure is deforestation. A study by the University of Maryland concluded that forests will be gone by the end of the century at this rate, and the current rate is around 300,000 hectares lost every single year. Over 80% of deforestation that takes place is due to small-scale agriculture. This means that these are just farmers with no other means of livelihood who have set up their farms and have destroyed the trees around it in order to survive and make money. Another issue is the palm oil industry and palm oil plantations, which destroy forests through burning methods, which can be very dangerous to animals in the surrounding area. Palm oil industry will also buy land that is owned by small-scale farmers and use it for the palm oil plantations. Therefore, the 80% number is actually a lot larger than it should be, as a lot of that deforestation ends up being used for the palm oil industry. Another indirect pressure is deforestation for the logging industry, as they are cutting down trees, which could affect bonobo populations and affect their habitat. This here is a photo of a farm set up by locals, and this is some of the small-scale agriculture I was talking about. As you can see, a lot of the trees have been taken down just for one farm, and it's easy to see why it is the largest percentage. The final major pressure is disease. Bonobos, like I said before, share 98.7% of their DNA with humans, which means they are at risk of catching the same diseases. Infectious natural pathogens like Ebola, as well as other human-borne diseases, pose a great threat. Around 10 years ago, chimpanzees and gorillas had 90% decrease in a population in certain areas due to Ebola, which just goes to show how it is very important to make sure that this doesn't happen again, especially with bonobo populations. Bonobos and other great apes are very social animals, and they are in close contact with one another, which means if one member of the group gets infected, it'll likely affect the entire group. And like I said, they're in groups of 100. So that's why the number 90% is such a large statistic, because one member probably got it and spread it to the rest of the tribe, causing them to die. Some of the conservation efforts being put into place are there are many reserves that have been put in south of the Congo River. Organizations such as the World Wildlife Fund and the Africa Wildlife Foundation monitor populations, protect habitat, as well as enforce laws and regulations. And what they'll do is they'll train people to help enforce these laws. Is it enough? I do not think it is enough, as I think the country should also be helping enforce these laws and train people in order to help ensure that poaching and trafficking does not continue. Like I said before, this is very key because this is the number one reason why bonobo populations are decreasing. I also think that there needs to be more awareness around bonobo species. Not a lot of people have heard of the bonobo, which means they won't be able to donate to these nonprofit organizations that are trying to help out. Ways you can help is to go with fair trade palm oil and not buy from palm oil sources that have deforested the land. You'll see a big sticker on the products you're purchasing, and another way to help out is just by spreading awareness about what's happening. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you learned a lot about the bonobo.